Hello isopod fans, this is Wally Kern with Supreme Isopods. If you keep isopods or know anything about isopods, you know that the dairy cow is probably the most popular isopod out there. Well, today we're going to talk about its cousin, the Porcellio laevis milkback.
The Isopod Vlog.
When I first saw these milkbacks, I just absolutely fell in love with their color. Again, they're very, very similar to the Porcellio laevis dairy cow, which is absolutely one of the most popular isopods in the hobby currently, but they just have a different look to them. Let's take a look at their setup here. This is a very simple setup. It's a 6-quart enclosure, simple substrate. I've talked about that before. I'll throw a link up on the screen so that you can see how we set up these isopod enclosures. But we have the sphagnum moss on the moist side, dry leaves on the right here on the dry side. Looks like we really need a lot of leaves to be added to this enclosure. And then we have some dried decaying wood in the middle here. It's a very, very simple setup. You can see the isopods scrambling around here as the enclosure was open. I picked these isopods up probably about 3 or 4 months ago from the isopod chicken. I got about 10 or 12 of them if I remember right. And they're in the last 3 months, they're going to town. They're really reproducing. It took about a month for them to kick in and for me to first see some mankey. And after that, every time I feed, it seems like I see more and more babies. Now, I've said this in other videos, but I'll go ahead and say it today too. When I set up a culture like this of isopods, I leave them alone. Now, I feed once or twice a week, but when I go in to feed a new culture like this, I don't overturn the wood or the leaves or the sphagnum moss to see how they're doing or to see if there's babies. I just leave them alone. After about a month or two, then I start checking to see if they're okay or if they have babies. At the beginning of the video, I showed a picture of the Porcellio laevis dairy cow, but that's a morph of the Porcellio laevis normal form found. Here's an example of the normal form. It's a pretty much gray animal. As well as the Porcellio laevis dairy cows, another morph is the Porcellio laevis orange. And finally, again, we have the Porcellio laevis milkback. There's several other varieties or color morphs of Porcellio laevis, but today we're taking a look at the milkback. And I'm going to get some closer views of these animals, but let me just mention real quick, the foods that we feed the Porcellio laevis, whether it's dairy cows, the orange, or these milkbacks, is a wide variety of foods, from vegetables to the supreme isopod chow, to dried mealworms, to dried fish. But one thing we do is always have dried leaves and dried cane wood in these enclosures. At this point, you're probably getting tired of seeing this setup, so let's go ahead and take a look at these isopods a little bit closer. Again, they're really, really going through these leaves, so I have to add some more decaying leaves, dried leaves. I like the oak and maple and spruce leaves. Anything that's a hardwood leaf, I like to throw in there. Let's take a look at this wood, and you can just see all the babies. Now, again, I started with 10 or 12 of these, and they are just exploding right now. And a lot of these are actually in the substrate. The substrate at this point is a little bit moist. Again, about half of the enclosure is moist and half of the enclosure is dry. This is a fairly active isopod, and you can see them running around here, but hopefully you're seeing, especially right here, you can see why they're called milkbacks. That larger one that we just saw with the dark on the sides and the lighter on the back, beautiful, beautiful animal. I'm going to go ahead and pick one up here, and we're going to see how intricate these colors really are. The shading is just amazing with these milkbacks. This one really loves my hand. Aren't they just the cutest little things? Let's go ahead and put this one back, and I'm going to show you something very, very interesting with these colors. I'm going to go ahead and overturn that second piece of wood, and as you see, look at this one that's so light colored. Again, this is a color morph of Porcellio laevis. Just like the dairy cows have the white and the black, and these milkbacks have the gray and the white. This is a really, really light animal here. I need to confirm this, but I think that working with these animals You certainly have to selectively breed them to keep that milkback in your group. The one that we're seeing right now, I think, is just a perfect example of the colors that you should see when you're working with these animals. Now, we've seen some pretty good examples of these Porcellio laevis milkbacks. I'm going to get the close-up lens out, and I'm going to see if I can get a little bit closer with these. As you can see, we have a ton of springtails in these enclosures. This is true with most of my isopod enclosures. I just love keeping springtails in there to help with the cleanup. As we finish up with these two cute isopods, let me go ahead and thank you for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like down below. If you have any questions about these isopods, leave a comment. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification all. Thanks for watching.